Hello and welcome to a new episode of Everstage's Go to Master Show, Season 3. We converse with RevOps, Sales Comp, and GTM leaders from some of the most successful companies today and learn from their unique stories. Joining us today is Sharan Balasubramaniam, Senior Manager, Incentive Compensation, Analytics and Reporting at Sun Pharma. Thank you for being here today, Sharan. Could you please share a little bit about yourself to our listeners?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, AB. So I'm Sharan. I am a senior manager at Sun Pharmaceuticals. I have been working with Sun for almost 3 years now. And prior to joining Sun, I was working with Axtria. It's a pharmaceutical consulting company. And I was with Axtria for a couple of years. And throughout my professional career, I have been focused on incentive compensation and sales ops in general.
Sharon, your career journey has spanned roles at Axtria, now Sun Pharma, covering international markets, sales operations, and incentive compensation. Looking back, what were some pivotal moments or learnings from these experiences that shaped your approach to working with commercial teams and building effective sales strategies and compensation strategies?
Yep. So one thing like I learned, like comparing myself as an outsider versus, like someone who works in the pharmaceutical industries. Like as an outsider, I used to think, whenever a patient gets sick, they go to the doctor, they get, like the prescription, they go to the pharmacy, and then, like they fill that prescription. But once after joining the pharmaceutical industry, the learning has been immense. So you get to learn, like all those moving parts which, have to like work together just to get a prescription in a patient's hand. So kind of like, those gears and everything behind the clock. So all we see is like, like the seconds hand moving, but like all those individual gears have to like function just to like make that 1 second move. Similar to that, pharma industry also has, like a lot of moving parts. So there are payers involved, there are PBMs involved, there's, like the manufacturers involved, there's the government regulations involved. So many moving parts, play a pivotal role in, getting a simple prescription filled. So that's one of the major learnings as an outsider versus, like a person who works in the pharmaceutical industry. And coming to, like sales ops roles in general. So, one thing that you learn when you are in a sales ops related role is it's a customer facing role. So you work with a lot of stakeholders, be it, like VP of sales or, like sales leaders or, like even the end users of your work, like, like field reps who physically go to the physician's offices and, like promote our drugs. So you get to work with, like a variety of stakeholders. And one thing that you learn is like each of them is, like unique. Not everyone is going to be as analytical as you are, and some of them could be, like statistical, while some of them could, like not interpret your, like analysis very well. So you tend to like learn how to communicate with, like different stakeholders and what type of, analysis would suit better for these individual stakeholder groups. So you get to learn from, like a lot of stakeholders and, like you also improve your interpersonal skills, I would say. So, like sales ops is kind of like rewarding in that sense where you get to work with a lot of stakeholders.
It sounds like stakeholder management is the key, and how you communicate matters as good as what you communicate. Really nice analogy there as well, Sharon. At Sun Pharma, you work across territory alignments, call planning, and performance based rewards. How do you approach designing incentive structures that not only motivate the sales force? You mentioned about working with sales leaders and sales reps, right? But also stay aligned with business goals and remain adaptable across different product life cycles.
Yeah. So, when it comes to incentive comp in general, right? For any organization, I believe like IC is, like a very important strategic tool, a tool which can, influence people's behavior. You could, do a lot of lunch and learns, or, like you could give them a lot of rewards and perks and stuff. But in the end, people's behavior can be heavily influenced depending on, like how much you pay them. And IC is a way of paying people, right? And the way we approach IC is always, like pay for performance. So you do your performance good, you will be paid good. So that's the basis of any IC plan. So it should be paid for performance. But coming to, like pharma industry in general, so there are probably like, like three main factors involved in, like IC plan design. First thing is you understand, like the life cycle of the product and, like which stage the product is in. Like product could be, like in a growth phase, or it could be, like not in a, I wouldn't say it's, like a stagnation phase, but it wasn't as growth. It isn't as, like growing as when it used to get launched. And then, like towards the end of the life cycle of the product, there could be other competitors which are, like coming into the market. There could be generics getting launched. So all those factors could contribute to declining of that product. So there are like different life cycles involved in, like a product. And then the second thing is we also look at, like the type of product it is and, like the condition it treats. So if it's a specialty product and it treats like, like an acute condition, you focus on, like bringing in more new prescriptions or, like total prescriptions. But if it's, like a specialty product which, like treats a chronic condition, you focus on acquiring more patients in this case. So you compensate the field force on new patient starts. So these are certain examples that I'm, like giving you. And then whenever we design an IC plan, we have to ensure like there are no biasness involved. And whatever IC plan we put in place, that's, like fair for every geography. Each person within that IC plan should, like be in a position to maximize their earnings. It's not like, like a metropolitan city could, like make more sales, so they get compensated more versus a rural area where the sales might not be as high as, like a metropolitan area. So you need to ensure like, like it's fair and there's no bias involved. So all these factors go into, like designing an IC plan.
Product life cycle, nature of product, and also keeping it very fair and square without any bias. So three solid foundations, very well put across, Sharon. Let's talk about disputes as well. I'm sure you're dealing with that day in and day out. Dispute resolution is a key piece of any IC process. How have you approached resolving payout related queries or conflicts at scale, especially in a large organization like Sun Pharma? Are there any best practices from your time at Axtria that help you streamline this as well?
Yep. Like you outlined, disputes are, like a part of the IC processes, I would say. Like whenever an IC payout goes out, people want to know, like, like how they are compensated on. And once they know, like, like how they are getting compensated, they would deep dive into, okay, so I'm receiving so and so sales, but, like, is that sales number that you are saying is, like my number, is that correct? So those kind of questions do arise, and especially in the pharma industry, like our reps don't directly influence the sales, right? Like our reps aren't the one who are writing the prescriptions. Like the physicians are the ones who are writing the prescriptions, right? And our reps could only like like market to the physicians. So, in a pharma typical landscape, physicians tend to, like move around a lot. So, a physician, let's say, like starts practicing out of New York City in, let's say, April, but then, like for some reason, in May they move across, like Hudson River, and they come into like the New Jersey geography. So, in this case, like for the April to like June quarter, we have to like establish boundaries whether we are going to compensate our New York rep versus the New Jersey rep. So these kind of disputes do arise, and one way we have found to like like avoid this is we ensure like the alignments are frozen at the start of the quarter. So when the HCP is, let's say, aligned to New York at the start of the quarter and at the end of the quarter, doesn't matter where that HCP is, New York will get credit for that HCP. Because New York is the one who has, like worked on this HCP for so long and it deserves to get credit. And again, like when we set the goals at the start of the quarter, right? So New York was the one who carried the goals for this HCP. So it's only fair, like you carry the goals and also the sales from that HCP. So that ensures, like the fairness piece. And these are, like for retail products in general, but there are like specialty products where, like some group practices might have, deals with the manufacturer itself directly. So they would directly buy in bulk from us. And these group practices tend to, like practice out of multiple locations, right? So they could, like get the product from us uh, in one location, but then they distribute it across all their individual locations. So in those cases, splits and overrides is something that will, like play a role. So we will not have, like visibility into those kind of splits, right? Like a organization could buy, like 100 units from us, but we wouldn't know like where those 100 units were, like individually spread out. But here's where, like the sales leadership input comes into play. So the sales leadership would tell us, okay, so, like 20 percentage could be given to this particular territory, 50 to here and 30 to here. So those kind of things could, like vary over the quarter, and that's where the leadership steps in. So as long as you have the buy-in from the leadership, any dispute that happens, like during the IC payout process could be resolved.
It sounds like there is a lot of data behind what you're talking, right? So data comes in from
Yeah.
multiple sources as well. So you work closely with sales leaders, data teams, and CRM systems. So what's your approach to making data just not accessible but actually useful for decision making on the ground?
Okay, I usually have, like two approaches whenever like we give, like certain data sets or like when we display certain analytics to the field. One is to like, like understand how the end user uses it. Because you could be the best analyst in the world and whatever analysis that you do could be the best in the world, but it doesn't matter as long as the person who's gonna use that analysis is not going to understand it. So we have to ensure like the user understands, like whatever analysis you're putting forth. So in order to facilitate that, so mostly I work with, like sales leaders as well as, like with sales reps, right? So what I usually do is I tend to take field rides with them. So I would just tag along with them just to understand, like how they use our systems and how they use the analysis that we send to them. So that way, like I get a live feedback on, like how our systems are used. So that's one. Second thing is I also have something called as a field intelligence team. So I have like, like a standing team within the field reps from different, like parts of the nation. So I understand, like I get continuous feedback from them on a monthly basis, and I tend to like, like incorporate those feedbacks into like the future ad hoc analysis or any other analysis that I put to the field. So this is, like part of the continuous improvement process that we do. The second thing is, like it doesn't matter how continuously you improve, you also need to train your field force on whatever improvement you're bringing in, right? So we also have a continuous training program that keeps going. So I meet with the team on a quarterly basis or a monthly basis just to show them, like the new things that we have, like brought in place. So they are also trained to use, like the latest one compared to using the older ones. So it's a two-way street. So you need to gather your feedback from the field, and also you need to be willing to train the field on those.
Gathering feedback and training in return. That's golden, Sharon. I also want to talk about AI. How do you think AI is going to shape up incentive compensation as a space? Because you deal with a lot of sensitive data. So, how secure it is right now, according to you, and what could be the future of AI with incentive compensation?
So Actually, I have like, like a general answer regarding sales ops itself. So, when it comes to sales ops, any processes, right? We tend to do it on a national level because, like human capacity is limited. So, I'm the only one, like working on that brand. So, if you ask me to like do some forecasting or, like do some sales analytics related work, I would be doing it at a national level. So it's mostly called as the top-down approach where we do something at a national level and then we, like trickle it down to the field. But with the evolution of AI systems, right, I would like to see, like all these things done at a regional level because each region or each geography is unique, right? So all those geographical factors, the market factors will be unique to a particular region. So, with the development of AI agents, I'd like to like, move from a top-down approach to a bottom-up approach. Because that way, like, all our forecasting or all the analytics that we do, that will be tailored to, like those geographies. And when we roll it up to the nation, you get the national numbers anyways. Instead of just, like doing it at a national level and tending it, like trying to like water it down to the field, you just do it at a field level and then, like you bring it up to the nation. So that's one evolution I'd like to see. And specifically for IC, I'd like to have like something like a GPT-based tool which could, explain how the payouts have been calculated, how, the IC plan has been, like created. So something the field can interact with so they can understand how their payouts and how their goals and how their IC plan and everything is designed.
Are there any specific resources, books, or podcasts that you would recommend for someone looking to scale their career in sales, commissions, or operations in general, Sharon?
Yep. So when it comes to resources, right, there's one book that I would recommend that is Compensating the Sales Force, a practical guide to like, like designing winning sales compensation plans. So it's a book by David Cichelli. So he's like one of the veterans in the sales compensation space. So that's one book that, like you can refer to like learn about designing an IC plan and how it could be, like motivating to the field. And one other thing is like there's also podcast on like Spotify or like, like on Apple Podcasts. So it's the sales compensation show. It's the sales compensation show by Forma AI. It's hosted by Nobel Alazan. So they are also like, like a GTM sales compensation software platform. So they tend to talk with, like a multitude of leaders from different industry and how they are using their sales ops processes in those industries. So those are the two resources that I would recommend.
Perfect, Sharon. Three key pieces of advice you would like to share with the listeners who aspire to excel in the field of IC incentive compensation.
Yep. Uh, One major advice that I would, like give to anyone who's aspiring to be in this particular field is uh, focus on, like stakeholder management and focus on, like improving your communication skills with, like the stakeholders. Because in the end, there could be, like multitude of AI agents and AI softwares coming up, but in the end, there's always a need for someone who will be, like able to bridge that gap between, like what that AI does and, like how your sales functions or like your sales operations work. So rather than focusing on creating the model itself, focus on, like using that model to make decisions. So anyone could create a model, fine tune a model, like all you need is like, like a statistical book to like do that. But one thing that can't be replaced is, like how you interpret the results from that statistical model and how you use it for your own purposes. So developing that skill that will be like crucial for the future.
Well, that brings us to the end of this insightful episode of Go to Masters. Big thanks to Sharan for sharing his experiences and valuable insights. Remember, you can tune in every week to learn more from game changers driving hypergrowth companies across the globe. Go to Masters is brought to you by Everstage, your trusted partner for transforming the way businesses handle sales commissions. I'm your host, signing off.